Why are the birds disappearing? By Dr. Mercola. Tens of millions of the most common birds in North America have disappeared, and their absence is signaling a silent alarm bell about the state of our ecosystem. According to a report by the National Audubon Society, the numbers of some species of birds have plummeted by 60% to 80%. The video above explains some of the dramatic environmental disruptions that are contributing to the decimation of the bird population, and what their disappearance means to the future of our planet. Dr. Mercola's comments. Like the tragedy of the disappearing honeybees, the disappearance of millions and millions of birds means that something has gone terribly wrong in our environment. There are many likely contributing factors for this observation, everything from pesticides to urban sprawl and pollution, but there is an extremely pervasive, silent killer out there that hardly anyone is mentioning: information-carrying radio waves. These radio waves are coming from your cell phones and other wireless technologies, and they have increased exponentially in the past 3 or 4 years alone. It's already known that birds living near mobile phone base stations do not breed well. It's also known that exposure to these frequencies causes disorientation in migratory birds. Now, at the end of 2007 there were 4 billion cell phones on the planet. What this means is that even if you are one of the few who decides not to use a cell phone, you are being exposed to information-carrying radio waves at unprecedented levels, and so are all of the birds, bugs and wildlife that live among us. In other words, they're everywhere. And when we talk about these radio waves, you have to understand that there is no safe level of exposure. This is completely different even from electromagnetic fields, EMFs, which are well known to cause brain cancer, tumor growth, and maybe even Alzheimer's disease. We have built up certain defenses against EMFs, which are actually 2 parts, the magnetic field and the electric field. We have been exposed to a magnetic influence simply because of gravity, while lightning and other natural sources have exposed us to some level of electric fields. As a result, we can be exposed to low levels of EMFs and perhaps not be affected. But this is not so with radio frequencies, RF, and information-carrying radio waves. The huge explosion in cell phone use and their corresponding information-carrying radio waves is causing the following problems: damaging cell membranes, decreasing intracellular communication by disrupting microtubular connections that allow biophotons to communicate between cells, increasing deposits of heavy metals into your cells, which increases intracellular production of free radicals and can radically decrease cellular production of energy, thus making you incredibly fatigued. First the honeybees, now the birds, next humans. It would be naive to assume that the bees and the birds are the only living creatures being impacted here. Perhaps because they are smaller, or more sensitive to the radio waves and changes in frequencies, they are being tragically impacted right now. But who, or what, will be next? The only real solution to this major problem is to move our culture away from wireless and back to wires. Is this going to happen? No way. The telecommunication industry has even more power than the pharmaceutical industry, and there is no way they are going to let that happen. Well, I took some steps in my own life, and when I moved I had my new home completely renovated with wired Cat5 cables, so I have no wireless connections at all. For you and your family, I would suggest keeping cell phone use to a bare minimum and using a speakerphone feature when you do use it. If you must keep your conversation more private, a non-Bluetooth headset can be used. And please, whatever you do, do not allow your children to use cell phones, as their skulls are far less dense than yours, and their brains are far more susceptible to damage from information-carrying radio waves. I believe that one day it will be shown that using cell phones is far more dangerous than smoking cigarettes ever was, and I will reveal the details of why this is so in my next book, coming in 2009.